Hey guys, Omni here. It is time for another New Rockstars breakdown for the latest Loki episode, episode 4. If you haven't seen my reaction to it, it is up on the channel now, so I hope you check it out and let me know what you think. But guys, we're going to be diving into this breakdown. I'm sure there's quite a few things. There's already one thing in particular, which I believe is actually what the thumbnail is based on, that I saw on my Twitter feed after the episode aired. Somebody had pointed out, but I won't spoil that beforehand in case you haven't heard about it. So we'll figure that out together here in just a second. So guys, if you're not subscribed to New Rockstars, I really hope you check them out because they put in a lot of great work. Eric Voss is an entertaining fellow, and yes, they speculate and overreach sometimes, but I think it's all part of the fun. He's definitely self-aware of himself now after all of the blowback from the Mephisto train that he had been the conductor of for quite some time, even like referenced it in a couple of their podcasts here in the past couple of weeks. So be nice. Guys, let's go ahead and check it out and see what Eric has to say. What did we miss? What details were there? Let's check it out.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Loki Episode 4, the Nexus event, in which Loki loving himself may save the multiverse from robot puppets and Lokigators. Let's break down this episode shot by shot for all the Easter eggs and visual clues that you might have overlooked to figure out what the
aliens,
hell
androids, or
going
wizards.
on. And a reminder that the best way to support us here at New Rockstars is to get yourself some great merch at newrockstarsmerch.com, including this limited edition Loki Out of Time shirt that I will be wearing in every video because I love it. So this episode opens on Asgard from Sylvie's timeline.
And I didn't notice it during watching this, and it was pointed out after the fact, and I feel bad that I didn't. She's played by the same actress that plays Judith on The Walking Dead.
Opening shot rises up behind the green hills that enclose the kingdom, a reversal of the past Thor-centric establishing shots of Asgard that approach from the Bifrost Gate. Because for Sylvie, Asgard wasn't a hometown that she returned to after battle to revel in glory. It was a rustic hearth that she dreamed of those adventures from.
Oh, that's a nice little detail. I didn't even think about that.
Like Thor admitted in Ragnarok, Sylvie's fan crush was Valkyrie, riding her Pegasus. Now the dragon may be the Muspelheim dragon that Thor slayed in Ragnarok's opening. She also has a wolf, perhaps Fenris, Hela's wolf steed, and this Viking boat, actually another of which can be seen over by the sea.
I would imagine that's Fenris.
Then the TVA comes in and arrests her for no apparent reason other than she's a Loki. But perhaps since Sylvie sees herself in a heroic light, that could be what causes the TVA, or the mystery figure actually controlling the TVA, to see her as a potential threat. Because that person wants Loki's to be the bad guy and die prematurely. Now, this squad is led by Renslayer before she became a judge, now Hunter A23.
This is the one. This is the one that I saw on my Twitter feed.
The first comic appearance of Ravonna Renslayer.
Avengers 23.
Traveling villain Kang the Conqueror professes his love to her, but she rebuffs him, so he moves to destroy her home, which, fellas, is not the response to no. But the writers choosing Ravonna Renslayer as opposed to any TVA judge from the comics feels like it could be a deliberate move to introduce Kang into the MCU.
We know he's coming.
Specific comic issue where Ravonna was introduced, and that relationship was front and center, seems like a pretty big hint toward that. Perhaps Kang is the one pulling the strings of the TVA. He's the one who used his time travel abilities to create this bureaucracy that could manipulate time in a very specific way, and now sees all Loki variants who survive as chaotic Nexus beings who destabilize his perfect timeline. I mean, now that the Timekeepers are revealed to be android puppets controlled by a mystery man behind the curtain, and Richard E. Grant is playing a different character, that leaves a vacuum for a big bad like Kang to appear ahead of Jonathan Majors' portrayal of him in Quantumania. Though in interviews, Majors claims to have no idea what we're talking about, so we'll see. Now, we never see what happens with the figurine Sylvie was playing with. They don't get erased with the reset charge, so maybe they were collected by Renslayer for her creepy collection of trophies. I mean, Kang's
kingdom, it is a little weird,
which could be that city in the quantum realm, is in the comics similarly made up of architectural relics of trophies from histories Kang has conquered. So young Sylvie goes through the booking process from a lower and much scarier vantage point. She notices the For All Time Always TVA seal that Loki walked right over in the pilot. Her transcript stack is much shorter than Loki's since, she's much younger and has spoken much less in her life. But notice that guy's mug does not yet feature his beloved cat, and Sylvie doesn't look down to see any cat in the corner, so that cat might have been a more recent acquisition. And by the way, I hope the cat's name is Schrodinger, because That would be awesome. The girl is scanned to determine she is not a robot, which, since the timekeepers are androids, might actually be to prevent other robots from entering the TVA and detecting that secret. Because, you know, I'm bot phobic and I ignorantly assume all robots know each other. Renslayer meets with the timekeepers, who are arranged much like the goofy future leaders in their floating seats in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. To me, just a little clue pointing to these timekeepers being really the makings of someone less grand, yet still excellent. But behind them is this red glowing symbol that looks similar, at least, to the runes that Agatha and Wanda used to mark a magical
I've heard some people call that out.
Others from using magic within that boundary. Like perhaps similar sorcery was used by whoever built the TVA to keep Loki and Sylvie and others from using their magic within this setting. Now, after the credits, we cut once again to a close-up of the face of the central timekeeper, the one whose head by the end of this episode will be cut off. Now, Mobius wants to talk to C20, but Renslayer says,
He's dead, Mobius.
What? How?
oh, Owen Wilson may not get to say
How
in this series, but he does get a solid how.
How?
I debated on pointing that out in the reaction or not, but I decided against it.
Asgard.
Yeah, I like how that meteor whizzes like a bullet through Sylvie's head at the moment she cracks to open up to Loki about her past. And Sylvie says the TVA arrested her because she's a source of chaos.
The universe wants to break free, so it manifests chaos.
Chaos.
Me being born the goddess of mischief.
And she may be right. She did really nothing to spawn a Nexus event. She was just targeted because someone fears all Lokis who don't die prematurely.
We may lose, sometimes painfully, but we don't die. We survive.
Now back at the TVA, the screen shows Wrightville, Pennsylvania, January 6th, 1832. That's referring to a bridge over the Susquehanna River in 1832 that collapsed due to ice and flooding. Then Morag, the planet where Peter Quill recovered the Power Stone in Guardians of the Galaxy, revisited in Endgame, which was a planet that used to be covered by vast oceans until the water receded, perhaps due to some environmental catastrophe. Now above those are mentions of Sakaar, that's the trash planet from Thor Ragnarok, and Alberta, Canada, the province containing Calgary, site of one of the worst catastrophes in the year 1970, the birth of this piece of shit.
And I am a very, very proud wacko bird.
And later on in the scene, when they lock on to Lamentus 1, above you can read unidentified planet. Interesting, since we know the TVA has seen all of historical existence, and by the end of that, there are still some planets that remain unidentified. And then Barcelona.
That's weird.
And then a bit later, after Barcelona, there's Aladon, referring to Aladon Prime, a decimated planet that the Kree army retreated to in the Annihilation Conquest comics. And then after that, Lima, Peru. Now we get this gnarly point of view of the shot from the planet crashing toward Lamentus 1 as it breaks apart. Reminds me of the point of view shots from the asteroid in Armageddon. That movie's crazy, but to be honest, it gave us some really fun stuff to look at. So it is Loki and Sylvie's connection that leads to this intensely powerful branch, the Nexus event of this title. It is so powerful that it defied the apocalypse that should have prevented this branch from forming, meaning that these two free surviving Lokis connecting, falling for each other as opposed to killing each other, represents the greatest threat to the person behind the timekeepers and their sacred timeline. Essentially, this is like Loki squared to them. But they get captured, and Mobius throws Loki through this red door that's outlined in the same kind of neon glow as the timekeeper's rune, so perhaps it represents a different kind of inner TVA magic. In this case, it's this time cell, a looped memory torture prison, kind of like something you'd see in Black Mirror. But Jamie Alexander returns as Lady Sif.
You conniving, craven, pathetic worm. You did this!
What? Ow.
I hope you know you deserve to be alone, and you always will be.
Now, Sif did not die with the Warriors 3 in Ragnarok, and she is expected to return in Thor: Love and Thunder. Loki cutting Sif's hair is actually from Norse mythology, in which Loki cut off Sif's hair, and to make up for it, went to Nidavellir, where the dwarves crafted her new hair from gold. Actually led to the dwarves crafting for the gods all kinds of things, like Mjolnir. Now, I love how you can hear the loop track resetting each time.
Because it was just a bit of fun.
You!
And while we're talking about the sound mix of this scene, each of Sif's successive hits get louder and louder on each pass to convey that increasing pain level on Loki.
Ow.
Pathetic.
So Mobius tells B-15 that they have brought in Kree, Titans, and Vampires.
Vampires,
Kree referring to the
Blade!
Imperialist Kree from Captain Marvel. They also might have shown up in that Miss Minutes animation. Titans could refer to the people of Titan. That's Thanos' home world. Genealogically, Thanos is an Eternal with a deviant gene, though maybe once they all relocated to Titan, they just went by the name Titans. And Vampires acknowledges the existence of Marvel vampires, soon to be explored in titles like Blade. Actually, vampires were brought up previously in Thor Ragnarok.
Want to use a big wooden fork? No. Yeah, not really useful unless you're fighting off 3 vampires that were huddled together.
Sylvie is being interrogated in Time Theater 47. Could be a nod to Marvel What If 47, in which Loki takes Thor's hammer. I only bring it up because we actually see a version of Loki with a version of Mjolnir in the post-credit scene. Now, in Loki's interrogation room, notice the overhead lights, how when they first come back into it, they shift downward. This room might be part of one of the spires that we've seen in the TVA exterior that rotates past whatever the outside light source is. The camera work uses this lighting to really great effect, like when Loki tells Mobius that he and all the TVA employees are variants.
So before this, you had a past. Maybe you had a family. A life.
A jet ski.
Nice try.
Yeah, notice how for a moment, as Mobius considers this possibility, the light of truth shines on his shoulders, but then he leans back forward in shadow to signal him blocking that notion back out. But then as Mobius says he and Loki's interests are no longer aligned, the overhead lights shift back upward in the other direction, and then as Loki says that Mobius is lying to himself, the light behind Mobius shrinks back down. But before we continue, this video is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped, the best in men's below the waist grooming.
Take care of yourself,
offers
boys.
precision engineered and a use code Zester in episode 2, B-15 now sees this poster that reads, "Did you get them all? Verify through deletion," with this big brothery and mustached man whom we have seen in the credits. Now, I'm getting some Howard Stark vibes from this guy, but I'm thinking it could be some veteran TVA director, maybe He Who Remains, who created the Timekeepers in the comics. In Renslayer's office, this music plays. This is Lascinia, the Swan, by composer Camille Saint-Saëns. Played here, though, by Clara Rockmore, really the first maestro of the musical instrument, the theremin.
That's such an interesting instrument, man.
She played Rockmore's rendition of this song in her pitch to direct this series, and that is why you hear the theremin so often throughout this show.
It fits the aesthetic.
So signs Loki's execution
I love
order using
the music
same
in this
FDR
show,
high
man.
school pin that Mobius noticed in episode 2. Note how he looks down at it again here. And Renslayer says,
Cheers.
Cheers.
To putting all this behind us.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah, Mobius might know his path here will lead to his own pruning, so it's a bit fitting that he uses this religious affirmation. So Renslayer adds to her trophies Sylvie's sword, while Mobius switches their temp pads and abruptly leaves.
One drink?
I think I had 2, didn't I?
Mobius.
Yeah, Mobius is plain drunk here, but being confused over how many drinks he's had connects to when he did not remember leaving ring stains on her table. Just saying, he might not be the first or only Mobius out there, nor the last. So Sylvie reconstructs B-15's memory.
I looked happy.
Hunmi Masaku's so good! She cries real tears here, but they mix in with the raindrops on her cheeks, a nod to the famous Tears and Rain monologue of Blade Runner, which was a major inspiration for Loki. Also, this moment cited in WandaVision with that Tannhauser
That
gate
scene
sign.
was
With
like
B-15
really
facing a
powerful for us
similar
not having actually
realization as
seen her
replicants that
vision.
Her memories give her.
You could just see it on her face. Like, it was, even like on the edit and even when watching other people's reactions to this scene, like, even though we have no idea what she's seeing, like, it's all over her face, man. And it gets me misty each time I come through it. And she's like, I look so happy. And it's just like, snaps my heartstrings. Like, many times this episode does.
Her humanity that has been denied to her. So Mobius confirms from Renslayer's temp pad that she pruned C20 as a cover-up, so he goes to tell Loki,
You can be whoever, whatever you want to be, even someone good. I mean, just in case anyone ever told you different.
and Loki responds with this heartfelt grin, which sadly leads to this moment where Mobius knows Ravonna is about to prune him, so he says where he would always want to go.
And wherever I had a life before the TVA came along. I knew I had a jet ski. That's what I'd like to do. Just ride around on my jet ski.
Prune him.
To get this man a jet ski. Well, considering Loki got pruned to this exile place, it is possible doing this could have unplugged Mobius to his past life jet skiing. I mean, let's hope so. We know from trailer footage that this isn't the last time we're gonna see him. But also, again,
goddamn trailers.
As they
Fuck.
get erased. It's so haunting. And notice how it ends with this digital zip sound, almost like someone being zipped up in a time body bag.
I can't really even blame them for that. I come into this video, I know they're gonna pull all their sources, so I'm doing this to myself, but come on, trailers. Leave something to the imagination.
In the elevator, Sylvie asks,
What was my Nexus event? Why did you bring me in?
I don't remember.
that little smirk. It's similar to what Thanos said to Wanda Maximoff in Endgame.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
I went immediately, and I put this in a pinned comment on mine, to the 1994 Street Fighter movie, The Day Bison graced your town. It was the greatest day in your life. For me, it was Tuesday.
I'm sorry. I don't remember any of it.
You don't remember?
For you, the day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Draper said to Ginsburg in the elevator.
I feel bad for you.
I don't think about you at all.
So on to the Timekeeper's Chamber. It looks like it was designed from MC Escher's relativity lithograph. Looks very cool.
I never even looked at the background, to be honest. Holy shit.
These Muppets! I especially love the Lorax one. What do you have to say for yourself? But this artificiality is the idea. They're positioned high up, bathed in mist, much like the great and powerful Oz.
Yes,
Just assigned to us,
that's
they're
exactly
clearly
what I
about to be
thought of.
revealed as a smoke screen. After the fight, Sylvie
I'm
decapitates
showing my
the
age.
central
I don't know.
timekeeper, eliciting laughs from the other two until they've shut down like Chuck E. Cheese robots.
Fake. Mindless androids.
I love how its mouth continues to twitch, like Ash the android severed
Yeah.
an alien. And with the wiring and the twitchiness, it's just very Hall of the President's animatronics. The production design stays consistent with the TVA's 70s analog tech. But yes, this confirms that the Timekeepers are not sacred deities, and much of what we heard in that Miss Minutes Welcome video was probably a lie. But rather, these were the artificial creations of someone else. Now,
Okay, so one thing I do want to pose, because I know everybody's going the other way, and I don't wholeheartedly believe it myself. Just something I was thinking of is like Ravonna still comes in here with fear and talks to this council. Does she know they were androids, or does she still think that these three are the actual Timekeepers? Like, is this new to her, or did she know that these were fake? Because she still comes in here and consults these things. Or maybe the person, you know, behind the scenes, you know, behind the curtain, so to speak, controlling the illusion, like in the Wizard of Oz.
Do you presume to criticize the great Oz, you ungrateful creatures? Oh, the great Oz has spoken.
Because there's still like a level of like insecurity and fear when we see her go in there. So I'm wondering how much she truly knows, but I think we'll figure that out. Again, it could just be for show.
in the comics, that was He Who Remains, the elder TVA agent at the end of all time. But in the comics, they aren't like mindless robots like this. They're really sentient beings with real power who operate independently. But some believe these robots could be based on the Doom bots of Dr. Doom, or that He Who Remains could be some other past Loki variant, a King Loki, or even that this is all automated
that's one I've heard
with
too.
no one at the helm but Miss Minutes. But I think, based on Ravonna being their advocate, a person who got promoted to judge despite losing a variant in in a courtroom, who now seems okay with Loki killing her off as if someone who's been a prisoner in this position. I think the chances are looking a bit better that Kang could be behind this all, and there's no chance I'll regret theorizing that. But right as Loki's about to confess his love to Sylvie, Renslayer prunes him through the back, just like how he got Coulson. But I also like how for a second it seems like his heart is glowing out of his chest, and his face is the last thing to fade, similar to how when Vision faded, the last thing Wanda saw was his face. Now, over the credits plays Brenda Lee's If You Love Me, Really Love Me, with lyrics about love eternal even when life is over, similar to how these two Loki variants have survived several apocalypses. And actually, one shot in the credits has been updated to include among the photographs of Loki and Sylvie a photograph of Sylvie as a young girl. Then the post-credit scene where Loki awakens.
This is hell.
Now the captions reveal he is spelling it with one L, meaning he's referring to the afterlife of Norse mythology, not the Christian hell. And then he hears a voice.
Not yet, but you will be unless you come with us.
So these are credited as classic Loki, played by Richard E. Grant. He's dressed up in the bright yellow and green look from the comics. Maybe he's a Loki variant that was pruned from the comic universe. Then boastful Loki, who carries a version of Mjolnir that appears to be a truck piston attached to a piece of train rail. And then Kid Loki, another character from the comics, who carries an alligator with its own Loki crown. Now, Loki in the past has performed conjuring with animals like snakes and frogs. Actually, the frog was itself a reference to the Throg comics. But the voice we heard was Richard E. Grant's, though it was off screen, leading some folks online to speculate that this could have been the gator talking. I don't know about that. I hope it's the case though. Now, they are in the ruins of New York City. You can see Avengers Tower back there. And you could see this as the aftermath of the Battle of New York, in which either Loki won or maybe where Iron Man failed to divert that nuke. You can actually hear the orchestra notes that are part of Alan Silvestri's Avengers theme.
Unless you come with us.
Look closely at that particular Avengers Tower. That is not the 2012 era Stark Tower, which did not yet have the upper Quinjet landing pad. That was not added until the next time we saw the tower in 2015's Age of Ultron. So I am thinking this could be sometime after 2018, after the sacred timeline Loki died. Because at that point, Earth was in the aftermath of Thanos' snap, and then maybe the TVA prunes all variant Lokis that they capture to this exile timeline to keep them from respawning in some other place in time. And this could mean President Loki and the ragtag bunch around him are all banished Lokis who have gone nutty in this prison. We'll explore this more as we go on to episode 5, but goddamn, what an episode of television we just watched. And again, you can support us by checking out our merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com.
That was a solid breakdown for a solid episode, guys. I dig it. So as far as who's probably behind scenes, I think Kang is the most likely of suspects. I do not think we will get a Miss Minutes twist. That Miss Minutes is just an AI controlling the entire thing. Like, I've heard that. I don't think that is... For me, if that is it, I don't know. I don't know what I'll do. But I'll congratulate you guys who went with that one. Because I don't adhere to that whatsoever. It's not even in my deck of cards. So either a couple questions that I do have and I want to present to you guys. Were the Timekeepers ever real? Were these androids put in place to keep up their disappearance? Maybe they were killed or defeated or overthrown by Kang or whoever is pulling the strings, and this is just put in place to keep up that illusion to keep the TVA under their control. Because there's still got to be a massive feat of power to condense the timelines, unless that is just a lie. Because we're seeing some not just deviant or variant Lokis that are getting out of hand throughout the timeline. We're seeing completely alternate versions of these characters from birth, from the get-go. That shows that the TVA, if they ever got that far and deviated that much like with Sylvie we saw, she was like, what, 8, 10, something? Given she's, not Asgardian, frost giant, but not a human. They age at a different rate, obviously. So, like, who knows how long they've let her live her life. If just being born a female Loki was her deviation, why didn't they show up right when she came out of the womb and just reset? Why'd they give her time to even grow up at all? Or is it her choices, her decisions that led her to need to be pruned? There's a lot of questions with why we get variants of Loki that are so drastically different, and it's been a question a lot of people have been posing. So it's like, does this TVA actually contain the multiverse? Is the multiverse out there and they're just trying to gain a control or foothold over some of it? I don't know. I'm sure we'll get some answers for that eventually. So I'm willing to ride with, since at least they are in the comics real, that maybe the timekeepers did exist at some point, and I think one of them may have gone rogue, aka Kang, possibly in this version of the universe, and is manipulating, pulling the strings. Of course, we know he is the villain, or at least a primary character in Ant-Man 3 Quantumania. So, and if that deals with the quantum realm, maybe the TVA and their place, their society, the structure, this, like with Kang City, which was hidden in the quantum realm, as we saw, maybe so too is the TVA buried somewhere in the quantum realm, where these physics, magic, infinity stones, all of that are outside of reality. Connections to Kang, possibly. However, there are some people that's like, well, who maybe there is an evil Loki that is actually in control over the TVA, using the TVA to benefit and accumulate power, trying to be the only Loki and pruning all these variants or whatever, who knows. And I do think that would like go in line with the theme of what we're seeing right now. Loki falling in love with Loki, and Loki being recruited by a team of Lokis. Like, it would be very in line with what we have had revealed over these last couple episodes, to have Lokis fighting a big bad Loki. Like, but I do feel like that, in a way, as cheeky as that would be, and as in line with the themes of this episode of the show have been up to this point, especially with the theme of Loki has always kind of been his own villain. And at the end of the day, what if he was physically his own villain? I feel like that would be a very meta thing to do, and I don't know that that would be a very satisfactory thing to do for the fan base. So I don't know. I don't know how to go with that. It could not be Kang, but then again, it could all be Ravonna working to maybe appeal to Kang, kind of like Thanos and Lady Death kind of situation, trying to get his attention or something. Like we saw, she was a hunter at one point. She hasn't always been a judge, so she has ranked up. She has believed in what the TVA does, and if she knows more than she knows, or is letting on, if she already knew about the truth about their all variants and she's covering that up, maybe she, despite that, truly does believe in the motivations of the TVA and that there are repercussions if they don't do what they do. So maybe it's like a greater, choose like the greater of two evils or whatever. And she's going along with this to prevent potential chaos from destroying the multiverse again or something like that. Maybe she truly believes what the TVA is about and is just going along with that, like regardless of what they are actually doing to make those ends meet. Or she's in league with somebody else who's controlling it, or she's ignorant to the whole thing and somebody else is again just pulling the strings. I think there's evidence in her performance that she does know more than she's letting on, but the way she treats and talks about the timekeepers, even when she's not witnessed by anybody else, even when she's alone, it gives pause to whether or not she knows that these three were fake. Or she could just be playing along. Of course, when they decapitated the robot, there wasn't an exclamation. She just immediately popped our Loki. No acknowledgement of the robots, no surprise, no questioning of her own belief system in that moment. So maybe it's because those other TVA agents were with her in this ceremony that she put on a show. There's a lot of ways this can go. We got 2 episodes left of this show. So I think it's going to be pretty crazy from here. It's got to be. I mean, we got Loki teaming up with alternate versions of himself, Kid Loki, boastful Loki, and the classic OG Loki. So it's going to be funny. It's going to be interesting. Maybe not funny, but it's going to be entertaining and a sight to see. And I can't wait to check it out. But guys, that's been my thoughts on all of these revelations. There's still a lot to mull over. There's still a lot to talk about. And guys, as always, Saturday around 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, keep an eye out because we will be doing one of our live streams so we can talk about this, all the other shows we covered throughout the week, some of the movies we watch, check out, just general hanging out and discussing pretty much everything that we're into. So if you're new to the channel, come hang out. We do that every Saturday. If you enjoyed this, which I hope you did, and enjoy the reactions and whatnot to the show, subscribe if you're not already, and we'll carry you through this journey together. But guys, that's going to be it for now. Before we go, shout out to our legends, Mandy, Sharon, Ryan, Karen, and Jason Coleman. Thank you guys so much. If you want to, join our Discord and we can hang out and chat there. Links to that and all my socials are in the description of this video. And I hope to see you there real soon. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.